Hi everyone, this is Tisch Aitken, and it is June 1st, 2021, and I'm here to discuss what's happening for this week and also how we're all working and how we can work during eclipse season. So let's just go over what's happened recently. So we had both Saturn and Mercury retrograde in the month of May. Saturn station retrograde on May 23rd at 13 degrees of the fixed air sign of Aquarius. And that's as far as Saturn is going to get in Aquarius this year. It's going to square Uranus in Taurus when the two get to 13 degrees of the fixed signs on June 14th. So we're building up to that square. We're definitely feeling that tension. And this is about adjusting and structuring innovation and working with this new paradigm that we're all working with. It's not easy. Uranus is very unpredictable energy, and I don't need to tell any of you because we're in eclipse season. So we have Saturn stationing retrograde, which it did on May 23rd. Now it's retrograde in Aquarius. It stations direct on October 10th at 6 degrees of the fixed air sign of Aquarius. Now we also had Mercury station retrograde on May 30th at 24 degrees and 43 minutes of the mutable air sign of Gemini. And Mercury has been in Gemini since May 3rd. It will be there until July 11th. It's very strong placement. It is the ruler of both Gemini and Virgo. But in Gemini, it can be a little tricky, which it has been, because first of all, we're in eclipse season where we're getting a lot of information, a lot of things get uncovered. Mercury and Gemini, there can be duality, there can be more than one side to the story. And Mercury was out of bounds from May 7th until May 30th. And that means that it exceeds 23 degrees and 27 minutes north or south of the equator. And Mercury at that point wasn't playing by the rules, hasn't been, that's for sure, and acting like Mercury retrograde. Now Mercury is retrograde from May 30th until June 22nd. It entered its shadow on May 15th when it got to 16 degrees of the mutable air sign of Gemini. And it's going to station direct just 2 days after the summer solstice at 16 degrees of the mutable air sign of Gemini. So we have a lot of information getting uncovered. Mercury remains in Gemini until July 11th. Very good for learning, for teaching, for travel, for gathering information. But right now, there's a very strong Neptunian and Piscean energy at play. And so we're all feeling that. Jupiter just newly entered the mutable water sign of Pisces, and it did so on May 13th. And it will be there until July 29th. That is very creative. It can be very magical, but it can be confusing. It can be highly emotional. For people that are depressed, it expands anything. So it can expand the sensitivity and make people want to escape in a bigger way. So that's something to deal with, particularly when we're in eclipse season. When we are in eclipse season, both the full moon and the new moon are at least within 15 degrees of the nodes of fate. In the case of the total lunar eclipse that occurred on May 26th, more mutability, more frenzied energy for sure. In that case, the nodes of fate were within 4 degrees of the moon and bringing very karmic experiences. Eclipses can eclipse people and things and circumstances out of our lives, but they can also bring realizations, and they can make us really see something in a way that we need to see, maybe make us wake up to something. It's unpredictable, and it can be frenzied, and it's highly emotional. Mars is transiting in Cancer just a while longer because it'll be there until July 11th, but it's in a cardinal water sign. Cardinal signs like to get things going, but it was out of bounds from May 21st until May 24th. March 21st until May 24th, which is a long time. Again, not playing by the rules, because when a planet is out of bounds, it's erratic, it's unpredictable, and it's emphasized in some way. So Mars was out of bounds, then it entered Cancer, the mutable water sign of Cancer, on April 23rd, where it will be until July 11th. Then it's going to enter the fixed fire sign of Leo, and that will be a stronger placement, more fiery, but much better placement, because Mars is in its fall position in Cancer. It's exalted in the opposite sign of Capricorn. It's in a very strong placement. And you think about it, Cancer is about your emotions, it's about nurturing and sustenance, and Mars is how we get things done, it's how we fight for things and catalyze things. So it's emotionally driven action, which is never very good. Never works out for me. I don't know about you, but it's generally better not to act out of reactiveness and out of emotion. So we know Mars is still in Cancer a little while longer. We know we're in eclipse season where we're going to get a lot of revelations, and a lot is happening in a very short period of time. There can be major departures. The total lunar eclipse on May 26th was a south node eclipse, and it occurred at 5 degrees and 25 minutes of the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius. Anybody with planets or angles between 3 and 7 degrees of the mutable signs felt that the most, and the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Everybody felt this, and South Node eclipse means the South Node is more about releasing something in order to gain the knowledge and the wisdom of the eclipse, I believe. So in this case, a lot of letting go, a lot of release. Sagittarius is a very optimistic moon ruled by Jupiter, but in this case, very emotional. Jupiter, again, newly in the sign of Pisces. This full moon eclipse squared Jupiter, bringing a lot of emotions, and Mercury was out of bounds during the eclipse, as was Venus. Venus, again, will be out of bounds until June 18th. So a lot of emotional, hectic energy. Now, this week, or this is the first day of June, we have Venus entering the cardinal water sign of Cancer, where it will be until June 27th. Then it's going to enter the fixed fire sign of Leo until July 21st. Venus in Cancer is nurturing and loving. It's very, it likes to be at home. It likes being around family and having just nice times with friends, around food, and breaking bread. It's a nice placement of Venus. Definitely easier energy than Mars and Cancer. So we've got Mars and Venus transiting in Cancer, but Mars won't be there much longer. And then on the 3rd of June, we have the Sun forming a trine to Saturn, and that is very good for getting things done. The Sun is in the mutable air sign of Gemini, and it trines Saturn at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and that can be very constructive for getting things done. The moon that day goes void of course at 7:10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and it makes a sextile to Pluto, which is an empowering aspect and a helpful aspect. And then the moon enters the cardinal fire sign of Aries at 1:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and it'll be there until Saturday evening. And the moon in Aries is, fiery. It's, people go for what they want with the moon in Aries. It can be combative, and the reality is that on the 3rd we have really nice aspects, but we're building up to, some challenging energy over the weekend, and in general we've got Mercury retrograde giving us a lot of different tales. We're still in eclipse season. Venus is out of bounds. Venus entered 19 degrees of Gemini on May 24th, and that's going to be the degree of the solar eclipse on June 10th that occurs at 1:53 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I will do a lot more on the eclipse later on in the week. I will do a video just on the eclipse, on the solar eclipse. But with this, Venus, set off the point that the solar eclipse will be on June 10th. So pay attention to Venus right now, because it's out of bounds. It's not in Gemini much longer because it enters Cancer tomorrow. But, Venus is, definitely all over the place. Mercury is in Gemini, and, we're in eclipse season, and the solar eclipse is going to be in Gemini, ruled by Mercury. And Mercury is going to be a key player in that eclipse. It's going to meet up with the sun that day. Mercury's going to meet up with the moon. So it's a big deal. And so with all of this, we're getting so much information. Jupiter in Pisces can be highly creative, and I have some people telling me that they're just really immersing themselves in spirituality or creative endeavors, or some people are saying they just feel really listless, and they don't feel driven, and they feel confused, and some are saying that they're going back and forth on that. So really just kind of go with the flow. You really don't have a lot of choice in that. There's so much mutability. Right now there are 4 points transiting in Gemini: the Sun, the North Node of Karma, Mercury, and Venus. As of tomorrow, Venus leaves Gemini and enters Cancer, but we still have Jupiter and Neptune transiting in the mutable water sign of Pisces. And Jupiter retrogrades on June 20th on the summer solstice in Pisces, which it rules in ancient astrology. But again, this could be very emotional energy. There can be flooding. There can be a lot of just, great time to connect to source and be creative and recharge if you need to do that. Neptune also stations retrograde in Pisces on June 25th, and we're going to feel those stations 5 days before and 5 days after. So a lot of Neptunian energy, and the eclipse and other planets in Gemini will be also sparring with Neptune in Pisces. So a lot about trusting your intuition, although things can be very confusing. Recognizing that a lot of people that are in your life, that maybe the relationship or the situation is hanging on by a thread. People and things can be eclipsed out of our lives. Maybe there's something you want to eclipse out of your life intentionally, that there's a habit or something that you're dealing with, and this has been building up for a while, really trying to set intentions on that new moon eclipse. But knowing that over the weekend we're going to have tough energy, because so we've got the moon entering Aries on June 3rd. On the 4th there isn't that much energy, but on the 5th we have Mercury squaring Neptune at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at 23 degrees of the mutable signs, Mercury in Gemini squaring Neptune in Pisces. That can be highly creative and excellent for manifesting, doing any form of art, manifesting, I already mentioned, meditation, artistic projects, working with your intuition. But it can bring deception. Deception can definitely get uncovered, or there could be miscommunication, where really the person or you don't mean to be whatever the person or you think is going on. But, pardon me, there can be I'm choking up because I'm feeling it. So there can be misunderstandings. So knowing that that's happening, and then at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Mars opposes Pluto, and Mars is transiting in its fall position. Not a great placement. Again, emotionally based and emotionally driven action, opposing Pluto, which is the ruler of Scorpio, the planet of power, the planet of death and regeneration. That can bring combative energy. People can definitely get into arguments and fights. There can be major endings. That occurs at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's a good energy for purging things. I can see my hands. That's a good energy for purging things and releasing them. But it also, realistically, people are going to be a little bit on the warpath with that. So lay low, do things you need to do. It's great for getting rid of things, for cleansing your space, for getting rid of clutter or whatever. But people will be emotional and they'll be fiery. Mars is in Aries. It goes void of course at 6:47 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time that day, with a square to Mars. So again, a lot of Mars energy, and Mars rules Aries, where the moon will be transiting, and we know Mars is opposing Pluto that day. But it can be good for getting things done and for holding your stand and immersing yourself in magic and creativity and music, with Mercury squaring Neptune, because Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. Very creative and very imaginative. Mercury is retrograde. There could be glitches with things, or again, miscommunication. Let's try to tap into the positive part of it. And then the moon enters the sign of Pisces, Taurus, early in the morning on Sunday morning. I believe it's a 7:11 a.m. I can't remember at the moment, but I know that definitely the 5th is a big day. That's the one to think about. And we've got a lot going on right now. So you're getting ready for a new moon eclipse that's setting off where Neptune was in 2019 and 2020, when it was at 19 degrees of the mutable water sign of Pisces. You're working with a lot of Gemini energy, where you can really be learning a lot and marketing and networking with people. We're also in review period, reassessing how we can learn more, how we can be more productive, how we can achieve what makes us happy, whatever that is. And a lot of people and situations may return from our past, and that's another thing to confront in your life. So I wish you a lot of luck. We are in eclipse season, we are in Mercury retrograde, and we are in Jupiter in Pisces. So there you go. Take care. Bye-bye.